Okay, I need you to stay with me for the first 30 seconds of this, because I'm about to say something that sounds insane, and I need you to hear the explanation before you close the tab. The ingredient dermatologists in Seoul, Tokyo, and increasingly every major skin clinic in the world are calling the most significant regenerative breakthrough in aesthetic medicine of the last decade is made from salmon sperm. I'll wait. What? Are you still here? Good. Because this is where it gets genuinely fascinating. PDRN, polydeoxyribonucleotide, is a DNA fragment extracted from salmon or trout gonads, purified to pharmaceutical grade, and used in everything from post-surgical wound healing to professional skin injections to the newest generation of topical skincare products hitting shelves in 2025 and 2026. It's not a gimmick. It's not a K-beauty marketing moment. It has been used in clinical medicine, actual hospitals, actual wound care for over 30 years. The reason you're only hearing about it now in a skincare context is that the delivery technology finally caught up with the science. And the science is genuinely wild. So today we're going deep. What PDRN actually is, how it works at a cellular level, what it can and cannot do for your skin, the difference between medical grade and cosmetic grade, and whether you should be paying attention to this right now or waiting for more data. Let's go. Let's start from the beginning, because if you don't understand the mechanism, you won't understand why the results are real. DNA in your body is not just genetic information. It's also raw material. When cells are damaged and need to rebuild, they require nucleotides, the building blocks of DNA, to construct new cellular structures, new collagen, new elastin. Your body can synthesize these from scratch, but it's metabolically expensive and slow, especially as you age. This is where PDRN comes in. PDRN is a chain of DNA fragments, specifically, fragments of polydeoxyribonucleotide with a molecular weight that allows it to be recognized by your cells as usable building material. When introduced to tissue, it activates something called the salvage pathway, essentially a biological shortcut where cells pick up pre-existing DNA fragments and incorporate them directly into new cellular construction. Think of it like this: your cells are trying to build a house. Normally, they'd have to manufacture every brick from raw materials, which takes time and energy. PDRN shows up with a truck full of pre-made bricks. Construction accelerates dramatically. But that's not even the most interesting part. PDRN also binds to A2A adenosine receptors on the surface of cells, and this is where the mechanism becomes genuinely remarkable. A2A receptor activation triggers a cascade of effects. VEGF upregulation, vascular endothelial growth factor, new blood vessel formation, better circulation to the tissue, more oxygen, more nutrients, faster healing. Anti-inflammatory signaling, A2A activation directly suppresses pro-inflammatory cytokines. This is why PDRN was first used in wound care and diabetic ulcer treatment. It doesn't just rebuild, it calms the inflammatory environment that slows healing. Fibroblast proliferation, fibroblasts are your collagen-producing cells. PDRN stimulates them to multiply and become more active. More fibroblasts equals more collagen equals denser, more structurally sound skin. Reduced cellular apoptosis, programmed cell death slows. Cells that would have died prematurely survive longer and continue functioning. The result in tissue, whether that's a surgical wound, a diabetic ulcer, or aging facial skin, is faster regeneration, better vascularization, reduced inflammation, and increased collagen density. All at once, from a single mechanism. This is not one ingredient doing one thing. It's one ingredient triggering a cascade that touches almost every aspect of skin repair. The medical history nobody talks about. Here's what separates PDRN from the 16 other revolutionary ingredients that appeared on your algorithm this year and will be forgotten by spring. It has a 30-year clinical track record in medicine. PDRN has been used in Italy, where it was first developed as a pharmaceutical product, since the 1980s. It was originally studied and approved for wound healing in diabetic patients, whose compromised circulation makes normal tissue repair extremely slow and often incomplete. The results were significant enough to drive widespread clinical adoption across Europe and then Asia. In South Korea, the country that has essentially become the global center of both aesthetic medicine and cosmetic innovation, PDRN became a standard injectable in skin clinics in the early 2000s. Korean dermatologists have been using PDRN mesotherapy injections for skin rejuvenation, post-procedure recovery, and scar treatment for over 2 decades. The data is extensive. The before-afters are not from influencers. They're from peer-reviewed clinical studies with controlled groups and measurable outcomes. The clinical evidence shows consistent improvements in skin hydration and moisture retention, collagen density on histological analysis, meaning they biopsied the skin and literally measured more collagen under a microscope, wound healing speed significantly faster in PDRN-treated versus control groups, reduction in scar tissue formation, improvement in skin elasticity metrics. This is not some users noticed their skin looked glowy. This is biopsy-confirmed collagen synthesis. There's a difference. Medical grade vs cosmetic grade, the conversation you need to have. All right. Here's where I have to be honest with you about the gap between what the science shows and what your $45 serum is probably doing. Medical-grade PDRN is delivered by injection, mesotherapy, microinjections, or in some cases as part of a broader aesthetic procedure. The reason injection matters is molecular weight. PDRN molecules are large. Injected directly into the dermis, they have immediate access to the fibroblasts, blood vessels, and receptors they need to activate. The results in clinical studies reflect this. We're talking about molecules that actually got to where they needed to go. Topical PDRN is a different conversation. Skin absorption of large molecules through an intact skin barrier is genuinely difficult. This is a fundamental challenge for many cosmetic ingredients. The epidermis evolved specifically to keep things out, which is great for survival and inconvenient for skincare. The molecular weight of standard PDRN formulations is significant enough that passive absorption through topical application is limited. However, and this is an important however, this doesn't mean topical PDRN does nothing. Several mechanisms are still in play topically. Hydration. PDRN has strong moisture-binding properties and functions as a next-generation humectant, drawing and holding water in skin more effectively than some conventional humectants. Surface-level anti-inflammatory effects. The A2A receptor activation may still occur at the upper layers of skin, reducing surface inflammation, redness, and sensitivity even without deep dermal penetration. Supporting ingredient synergy. Many PDRN topical formulations combine it with peptides, hyaluronic acid, and growth factors, and the combined effect of these ingredients addresses the penetration gap. Post-procedure use. This is where topical PDRN becomes genuinely valuable. After any treatment that creates microchannels in skin, microneedling, laser, peels, RF, PDRN penetrates dramatically better through disrupted barrier. This is not a minor distinction. Post-procedure PDRN application is increasingly a clinical standard, not just a marketing addition. The newest development in 2025-2026, low molecular weight PDRN and PDRN encapsulated in liposomes or neosomes, delivery systems designed to carry the molecule deeper into skin. Early data on these formulations is genuinely promising. This is the area where cosmetic PDRN is evolving fastest right now. PDRN vs. polynucleotides PN, clearing up the confusion. You'll see PDRN and PN polynucleotides used sometimes interchangeably, sometimes as distinct ingredients, and the confusion is real and understandable. Here's the simple distinction. PDRN refers specifically to the low molecular weight fraction of salmon DNA, roughly 50 to 1,500 base pairs. This is the fraction with the most established A2A receptor activity and the most studied wound healing applications. PN polynucleotides, or PDRN-PN complex, refers to formulations that include a broader range of DNA fragment sizes, some larger, some smaller. Different molecular weight fractions have slightly different biological activities. Larger fragments tend to have stronger hydration and structural effects. Smaller fragments, PDRN range tend to have stronger receptor-mediated regenerative signaling. In injectable aesthetics, the distinction matters for the specific indication being treated. For topical skincare in 2026, the terms are often used loosely, and what matters more than the precise nomenclature is the quality and purity of the raw material and the sophistication of the delivery system. What you should look for on labels: PDRN, sodium DNA, polydeoxyribonucleotide, or PN. If the brand specifies salmon or trout source and purity grade, that's a positive signal of transparency. What PDRN actually delivers realistic expectations? Let's talk about real-world outcomes, separated by delivery method. Injectable PDRN professional treatment. The results here are documented and significant. Patients receiving a course of PDRN mesotherapy, typically 3-4 sessions spaced 2 to 4 weeks apart, show measurable improvements in skin hydration, pore appearance, fine line reduction, and overall skin quality. Skin looks more alive, better circulation, improved texture, a luminosity that comes from genuine vascular improvement rather than just surface hydration. Recovery time is minimal. Some redness and microswelling for 24-48 hours, then skin settles into a progressive glow-up over 4-6 weeks post-treatment. This is a popular lunch break procedure in Korean and Japanese clinics, genuinely low downtime for meaningful results. It's also one of the go-to treatments for skin quality rather than specific concerns. If your issue is dullness, loss of bounce, general tired-looking skin that no single product seems to address, PDRN injections are increasingly the answer that aesthetic doctors reach for. Topical PDRNs. Expect meaningful improvements in hydration and skin barrier function, noticeable reduction in redness and reactive skin, and accelerated recovery after any skin procedure. Expect more modest improvements in fine lines and collagen-related changes compared to injectable. The mechanism is real, but the delivery is limited. The standout use case for topical PDRN right now is post-procedure recovery. After microneedling, laser resurfacing, chemical peels, or even intense extractions, applying PDRN topically capitalizes on the open channels in skin to deliver the ingredient at a depth where it can do meaningful regenerative work. If you're doing any in-clinic procedures, asking about PDRN post-care is worth the conversation. Who should be paying attention to PDRN right now? You should be actively exploring PDRN if you're in your 30s or 40s and starting to notice skin quality decline that products alone aren't addressing. The loss of luminosity, bounce, and that inexplicable freshness that skin had at 25. PDRN treatments target the vascular and cellular causes of this, not just the surface symptoms. You're doing regular skin procedures, microneedling, laser, peels, and not yet incorporating PDRN into your recovery protocol. You're leaving results on the table. You have chronically sensitive, reactive, or rosacea-prone skin. The anti-inflammatory A2A mechanism is legitimately calming, and several clinical studies specifically document PDRN's effectiveness for reducing redness and sensitivity. You have scars, acne scars, surgical scars, stretch marks. This is one of PDRN's oldest and most documented clinical applications. The combination of increased collagen synthesis and improved vascularization makes it one of the more effective options for scar remodeling. Wait for more data ifs. You're expecting topical-only PDRN to compete with injectables. The science isn't there yet for standard molecular weight topical formulations, though low MW and encapsulated versions are showing more promise. Summary: what you need to know. 1. PDRN is real science, 30 years of clinical medicine, not a trend. 2. The mechanism is multi-layered, cell building blocks plus A2A receptor activation plus fibroblast stimulation. 3. Injectables work best, direct dermis delivery gives the molecule access it needs. 4. Topical works for hydration, anti-inflammation, and post-procedure, especially with disrupted barrier. 5. Low MW and encapsulated PDRN is the future of topical. Watch this space in 2026. 6. Best candidates: skin quality decline, post-procedure recovery, sensitive reactive skin, scar treatment. 7. It's salmon DNA, yes. And it works. The body doesn't care about the origin story. PDRN is the rare skincare ingredient that arrived from medicine rather than from marketing. That lineage matters. The data is real, the mechanisms are understood, and the clinical results, particularly injectable, are consistent enough that dismissing this as a trend would be a mistake. The question for you is whether injectable treatments are accessible and appropriate for where you are right now, or whether a well-formulated topical PDRN product fills the gap while the delivery technology catches up with the science. Either way, you now know more about PDRN than approximately 95% of people who will confidently recommend it to you on the internet. Use that responsibly. Drop your questions below, especially if you've tried PDRN injections and want to share your experience. Like if this was the deep dive you needed. And subscribe because the next video covers growth factors in skincare, another ingredient with a medical history that the beauty industry is just now discovering.